Welcome to Superhero Suits, a show that breaks down all the famous lawsuits in the history of superheroes and comic books, all brought to you by Scott of NerdSync and me, Joel of the ComicBookCast. And on today's inaugural episode, we are taking a look at Todd McFarlane. Now, McFarlane is a truly fascinating figure in the world of comics. You may know him from his work on 90s Spider-Man as one of the driving forces behind the creation of Image Comics, or maybe even his role as a toy maker. But perhaps McFarlane's most famous contribution to the world of superheroes is his creator-owned Spawn, which is where our superhero suit in question comes from. One of McFarlane's most unique quirks as a creator is he loves naming characters in his work after people he knows in real life. Case in point, Al Simmons, Spawn's alter ego, got his name from a man McFarlane worked with, and the names of Simmons' wife and daughter, Wanda and Cyan, come directly from McFarlane's own wife and daughter. Now, naming characters after your friends and family is one thing, but Mr. McFarlane got himself into some hot water back in 2000 when he was sued by one Tony Twist, a Canadian hockey player from the St. Louis Blues, who claimed McFarlane was profiting off his name for his Mafia Don character, Antonio Twistelli, who made his first appearance in Spawn number 6, but wouldn't actually be named until later on. Now, for those who don't follow hockey, Mr. Twist is what is known as an enforcer or goon, a player who does a lot more fighting than skating. Yet despite all that, Twist had a very good guy image that he wanted to protect, and one that he felt was being damaged by having a violent comic book mobster share the same name as him. In the first of what would be many trials over the next few years, McFarlane would go on to claim that his use of the name was protected under the First Amendment. Twist disagreed, saying McFarlane had gone outside the bounds of free speech. Twist was awarded more than $24.5 million by the St. Louis Circuit Court jury in 2000, but the judge overruled that decision. Later, the Missouri Court of Appeals would address the defendant's claim that use of Twist's name in comic books was expressive speech entitled to protection under the First Amendment. Eventually, the court would call McFarlane's use of Twist names predominantly a ploy to sell comic books and related products rather than any artistic or literary expression. Sadly, this was not the end of the case. It was remanded for a new trial based on instructional error. After the second trial, the jury rendered a verdict in Twist's favor and against McFarlane and Todd McFarlane Productions, awarding Twist $15 million in damages. McFarlane appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court in December 2003, arguing that Spawn characters are purely fictional fantasies and no reasonable person would confuse the plaintiff with the fictional fantasies and characters portrayed therein. In the wake of the original $15 million jury verdict in December of 2004, Todd McFarlane's Productions filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, citing the $15 million Twist judgment as its largest single debt. Other portions of Todd McFarlane's business empire, including Todd McFarlane Toys and Todd McFarlane Entertainment, producers of the Spawn animated and live-action projects, which were not named in Tony Twist's lawsuit, were not affected by the filing. All throughout the trial, McFarlane tried to downplay the importance of the fact that there was a hockey player named Tony Twist, admitting that he had heard of the player and had perhaps even subconsciously had him in mind when he made the character, but that he did not intentionally name the character after him. The defense also went as far as to argue that Tony Twist was so unknown that his name and persona didn't really need protection. Perhaps the biggest smoking gun for the trial came in the form of a 1996 Wizard magazine issue, Spawn Tribute, wherein McFarlane was quoted as saying that he named his characters after friends and family. The article also contained a picture and biography of Anthony Tony Twist Twistelli and his real-life persona, Tony Twist. After many years and multiple appeals, the case was finally settled out of court. Twist reached a $5 million settlement with the insurance companies for Todd McFarlane. The $5 million deal was approved in Bankruptcy Court of Arizona as of February 2007. This would be just one of many of Todd McFarlane's high-profile legal cases, and it also wouldn't be the last time he was sued for using someone else's name, but those are superhero suits for another day. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of Super Suits. For more educational comic book videos, be sure to subscribe to Scott and NerdSync, and if you want to see more of my work, you can check me out over at Cape Joel, follow me on Twitter at the DVD Grouch, and as always, see all the great news and reviews pieces that I'm doing over at the ComicBookCast. And hey, if there's any particular lawsuit you'd like to see me cover on a future episode of Super Suits, please let us know in the comment section down below.